Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
Welcome to today's show. Thanks for being with us as you learn more about authors, independent authors, and their writing secrets and their marketing secrets and how you might get some advice from them. We have a special guest tonight, and his name is Leonard Reese. Leonard is an interesting character just because he drove a school bus for 35 years. He's retired now, but at the same time, he was also teaching history and English and doing one-act play and poetry and all kinds of stuff. He taught across the hall from his wife, and so there's a whole book there. But the book we're talking about tonight is one that Leonard wrote about his time serving our country in the 1st Marine Division, 1969 to 1970. The book is called The Nam Within. Leonard, welcome, and tell us about the title of your book and just a little bit more about what you were trying to do with it.
Okay, Lori. It's great to be with you tonight. The title of the book is The Nam Within, and it's really has to do with the psychological effects of that I began to suffer almost immediately following my return in 1970, and then perhaps even while the war was actually occurring. It's the feelings when we got back. The feelings toward us were not real good toward the soldiers, and so we were brought to internalize it, I believe, and not talk to people because most of the time things were negative. So we internalized the experience and kept it inside. And I guess the best thing that happened to me was I met my wife of 43 years at that point in time, and when I went back to school on the GI Bill, and we've been traveling this road together since then, and we're looking forward to publicizing the book as much as we can, because I think that what I have to say is important, and I'd like everyone to hear it.
Yes, we want to know more about that. Is it just for veterans or people who are serving currently? Who's your book for, and what's that message? Well,
the book is for a couple of different groups. Mainly it's for the guys who served in any war, not just Vietnam, but my war's been almost 49 years ago that it was in Vietnam, and I still have a lot of friends that are suffering from the PTSD, the post-traumatic stress syndrome, and it's caused by mostly the combat and being around the things. I started to write the book about 25 years ago, and then it just got tangled up, and it became what I didn't want it to believe. What I didn't want it to be. I didn't want it to be just a rehashing of war stories. We have enough of that, and so instead, the stories that I've chose to tell are the stories that I chose to tell are ones that have to do with why we started feeling the PTSD. So it's not so much about the actual doing of the combat, the actual being involved in the combat, but it's the psychological effect of having done so. And then the other group I want to talk to are the people who happen to have a loved one that's suffering from this experience of war. My wife and I didn't talk for 20 years about it, and we were married and never mentioned it at all until I finally was able to get some things out and to open up to her. I think that the best thing to say about the message is it's to tell all of those people that I've mentioned that it's okay. It seems that because we internalized it so much, so many of us just have some strange behaviors at times that cause us to respond to the things that we're feeling, and those things are taken as we're being a little weird. And the truth is we're not. The message is we're not alone. We can still have a productive, meaningful life without and deal with this PTSD at the same time, and to not give up. And then one other group is the guy I did mention, the guys that are from Iraq and Afghanistan and those wars, because they're coming home with the same kind of difficulties, and they're having more problems with suicides, I believe, than the Vietnam veterans did, and that was a quite a high number. But I'm sorry.
No,
really
you're doing great, Leonard. I did have a follow-up question on that.
Okay.
I have interviewed Vietnam veterans almost my whole reporting career, which is now going into the decades. But one of them always would say, when you meet a veteran, say, thank you for your service and welcome home. And he was a Vietnam veteran and didn't get that. You all, when you came home, you were shouted, you were people spit on you, they called you baby killers, and maybe not realizing that there was a draft back then. But it's been so different for the recent generation of soldiers. I know your heart is good, because we talked a little bit yesterday, but do you ever feel kind of jealous or kind of just regretful that you didn't get the kind of welcome that the soldiers are getting now, the kind of respect?
I can't. Jealousy wouldn't be the right word, because I'm not jealous of any kind of a good reception that the proper reception that the guys that are coming back are getting. I'm really happy for them, and I'm not jealous of that at all. I have a feeling, though, there is a little bit of anger about the situation. That I keep repeating myself when I go back to it, the fact that we internalized it, and we came back with so much of this in ourselves, and yet we had to keep it inside because nobody wanted to talk to us, or we didn't want to talk to them about the way they had to talk to us about it. And
people just didn't. Even the World War II soldiers, and they called it shell shock, and then they called it, I don't remember what we called it with Vietnam soldiers, but the PTSD came about a few years ago. And okay, so the current soldiers are treated with respect as they come back from the more recent wars, and they are not having to internalize it. There's all kinds of counselors and people who will talk, their families will talk, but yet you mentioned the suicide epidemic. Is that just the rigors of war? It's going to happen with every service member, that there's going to be some of this horror that people just can't get over?
Well, if for one that is in combat, anyone who's ever been in combat just never comes completely all the way home. There's a part of themselves that is, and of ourselves that remains in the places where we fought, and that it has to face those demons at night that represent the experiences that represented by the experiences that we had, and some of those experiences were very difficult, and it's difficult to be you're trying to survive as a infantryman, as a rifleman in the 1st Marine Division, and you're just trying to survive, and you're trying to keep everybody else alive. In the platoon, and the things that you have to do to survive in combat are often pretty terrible things. And then when you see your good friends happen to be wounded or happen to be killed in combat, it's something that because you have to continue fighting, that you kind of stick someplace in a little spot in your head, and you try to hide it there. And over the years, it just becomes more and more difficult to hide it there, and so it's a pretty hard thing to just keep a hat on. It wants to keep coming out.
Yeah. Well, we're talking with Leonard Reese, and he has written the book, The Nam Within. And Leonard, before we take our break in just a couple of minutes, was writing the book cathartic for you? Did it help you with some of those feelings?
You know, Lori, I'd like to say that it just, boy, did it just turn me into a great, to a great, completely cured person. It didn't. I still have my, I still have my nightmares, and I still have my responses to what would be a regular man's walk in the park. Becomes to me watching the tree line and looking for any straight lines or signs that there might be someone ready to ambush us. It's just a part of who we are.
Well, I hope by hearing this that people who are listening will be more sympathetic to all of our veterans, and I thank you for sharing that. When we come back from our break, we'll go a little bit lighter direction, Leonard. We'll talk about the other projects that you're working on and just how you got the book written and how you and your wife Cindy are marketing it. And we hope that everyone will stay with us on this show and that you'll also listen to our sponsors and help support them because they support this program. We'll be right back.
Headlines. Cryptocurrency vultures are circling around failing governments. Darknet predators are rushing to market with their newest digital product. They promise economic salvation, even as they coupon clips straight from your digital wallet. The newest techno-thriller installment from Brakefield and Berkey, The Enigma Source. Book 10 of the Enigma series continues the combat of cyber good guys versus cyber thugs set in today's digital landscape. A new online bookstore, IndieLector.store, is unlike any other. IndieLector.store offers great prices from top indie authors and supports authors at the same time by paying them more for their books. IndieLector.store has a readers club that gives you free books and special deals. Watch the IndieLector.store continue to grow before it opens in the fall of 2019 at IndieLector.store.
Howdy, I'm John Cruder, the Midnight Marauder. I guess you might say that I'm a vigilante who rights the wrongs I see along my many travels to balance the scales of justice, especially those of the corrupt and murderous members of the Town Council of Bandera, Texas. You can follow my many adventures in a series of Midnight Marauder books written by Roy Clinton on Amazon.com and TopWesterns.com. Or, if you prefer, listen to my adventures in audiobook form by downloading them from Audible.com or iTunes. This is R. William James, the voice of the Midnight Marauder.
Do you love to read great new ebooks? Visit EBG247.com. Be the first to discover the next bestseller. At EBG247, we have the web's largest selection of great new book reads, from that amazing new fiction or nonfiction to horror, romance, and fantasy. We even have today's best children's books. That's EBG247.com. New books arrive daily, and all ebooks start at just 99 cents. If you love to read, then you'll love EBG247.com. Low prices, large selection, and an easy-to-use website. It's all only at EBG247.com.
Hello, Texas authors. My name is Randy James, coming to you from my Carrollton recording studio, where I spend time writing and producing commercials for my radio endorsement clients, as well as my private freelance clients. I'd like the opportunity to help you sell more books with a commercial like this and get listeners of Dear Texas Radio excited about your title, all at a special introductory price, available to members of the Texas Association of Authors. Call or text 214-762-1942. That's 214-762-1942. Love to read? Love to meet authors in person? Then check out bookfestival.network to find a book festival in your region of Texas. We are adding book festival events throughout the year, so sign up to get notices and even a coupon towards purchase of a Texas author's book. Sign up at bookfestival.network. Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
Thanks for joining us and welcome back to today's show. I'm Lorri-Allen with a special independent author. Leonard Reese has been touching my heart. You know, a person is a good person when they teach public high school. He taught history and English and drove a school bus for 35 years. And then he said he wrote his latest book to help all veterans know that they're not alone. Leonard, thanks so much for being our guest today. And let's get away from some of that deep, heavy stuff because it needs to be said. But a lot of people listen to this program so that they can learn writing tips from people who've successfully published like you. First of all, what were the mechanics? How did you get your book written?
Well, Lori, and I apologize if I got too heavy on the other part. I get very emotional about it. But
yeah.
What got me started on it? After having struggled with writing it the first time and not working out about 25 years ago, I kind of put it up, and then my wife, Cynthia Jameson Reese, came down with breast cancer, and we were just kind of locked at home, and we talked quite a bit, and I decided on the direction that I wanted to take was a first-person memoir, and see if I could tell the story, and I believe that I have. I believe that I've done what I want to say, and now it just it has to be read. So that's where you come in with marketing the book.
Yeah. Well, before we go on, though, Leonard, our listeners will want to know that she's doing well now.
Oh, yes, she is. She's doing fine. She's finished all of her treatments, and now she's cancer free at this point, and we're just ecstatic that she's doing so great, and because she's my everything, and she's what keeps me going. So I don't mean to be overly corny about that, but this is as much her book as it is mine.
So she helped you write it a little bit, and she helps you market it. What is working in terms of marketing? What are you all doing that you feel like gets results?
Well, we've received most of our sales are actually we're online with you can find the book in paperback at Amazon or Kindle ebook at Amazon, and then the paperback booksellers could find it at Ingram Spark, and then I have my website leonardreese.com where people can get in touch with the social media. I'm on Facebook, and I also have a website on Facebook, and people can find out
Leonard,
about it.
Leonard, I have to say I found you through Texas Authors Bookstore, so we don't want to leave that one out.
Oh,
so,
okay, good.
Yeah,
and then I had I found out that at bookstores, I found a very good used bookstore in Kilgore, the bookstore in Kilgore and Coffee Cherry, and Stephen Woodfin has helped me a great deal, and I had a book selling there, plus I had a book signing at the Silver Grizzly in Longview and at Pease Gallery in Longview, and so mostly book signings, and then through the word of mouth.
Let me break in here. Leonard, let me break in here and tell people who may be listening from all over the world that you are mentioning some cities and towns in the East Texas area. People know that Texas is big, but if they've never been here, they may think it's just one big sand dune with cactus, and it's not. It's huge. It could be 5 states, and every area is a little bit different. In East Texas, I tell people, especially where you are, because I'm living in this area too right now, I tell people that it's where the Deep South begins because we have the really tall pine trees, and it's nothing like that stereotype you might have. So when he's talking about Kilgore, which is the little bitty oil town where oil was discovered in East Texas a long time ago, and
yes.
Longview is a little bit bigger city to the east of Kilgore. Okay, Leonard, enough geography here.
Okay.
Continue. Are you using Twitter? Are you using any other social media apps that seem to be working for you?
Well, right now we're kind of exploring everything. The book's only been out a short time, about 4 or 5 months, and so the book signings have been the biggest thing that we've done, Lori. We've contacted. It's kind of one of those things where every friend you ever had gets a phone call or gets to be. Facebook has made it possible to go to a lot of the friends who communicate together here in Tatum. That's a small town. We live outside of this town, but that's where I taught for all the years I was teaching, and we word of mouth is what we're trying to use. We're open for ideas. I'm going to try to make some of the Marine bases across the country and some of the military bases across the country to sign it, and we're also having an audio book we're having made even as we speak, and it should be out in October. So because I want to get everybody I can within this book. So the audio book seemed like a way that the people who like to drive down the road and listen to it, or the people who are unable to for whatever reason to not read it, can experience the book as well. And I say experience because it's not really a book that one likes or doesn't like. It's a book that I hope the reader is drawn into and becomes a part of, so that they can experience and feel firsthand what it's like to be in combat and what it takes to survive that experience.
Leonard, you told me that you are still very involved with the Veterans for Foreign Wars organization and the Marine Corps League, and in fact, you just got back from a reunion. With all these hard experiences and nightmares that you still have, why be involved?
Oh, because I'm glad you asked that, Lori. That's a good question. I didn't even think of, but I do it because I really feel an incredible responsibility to do good. I mean to make up for the damage that we did in combat and in the war, for the many things that we were required to do, and the many guys that we lost. I feel that having survived, I have to live my life in a way that can now that I've retired, I can put my efforts in trying to help the guys that are having any kind of trouble with the soldiers, the Navy, the Army, everyone involved in combat in all phases of it. Even if you're not one of the ones that are on the ground with the rifle in your hand, those guys still need help, and I've kind of made that my goal is to continue helping. I'm going to be, I think I said, I'm going to be 70 next week, and that's a long time. That's 7 decades on this earth, and I want to leave it. I want to leave it not just sitting around, but doing something that I think that I believe so much in, and help in an area that needs it so much.
Well, I also want to encourage everybody to buy this book. We're talking about a book titled The Nam Within, because even if they gave it to someone that they love, they're related to, a friend of the family who is going to war now or coming back, it might save a life. If the message truly is, you're not alone, that really could help somebody. So let's just hope you get lots and lots of sales, Leonard. And before we go, though, today, this kind of unleashed your writing habits and writing career. What are some of the other projects you're working on now?
Well, I was kind of caught in the middle, Lori. I was starting to write a fiction book, and as I did, I thought I would just for what you talked about, is it hard dealing with this all the time? And I thought I would get away from the topic, but the more I try to write in another area, the more I'm drawn back to my experiences in combat, and I think if there's an area where I can help, that is the area where it is, and I don't have time to write another kind of book. That's for someone else. But somehow I hope to stay in the same kind of an area, not just keep writing the same book about like the Nam within, but talking about these topics that I've mentioned and trying to draw attention to the heroes that are coming back, and how it's not just my responsibility but everyone's responsibility to help these men and women feel that what they're doing is, in fact, what they're doing. They're saving our country. They're guarding our country, and they're putting their lives on the line every day. Even as we're having this conversation, there are people all over the world stand there for us, and so I want to write it. I want to write to them. It's kind of like a love letter to them in a way. And it's important to me. I've got to feel that I'm doing something.
Beautifully said, and so important. We very much appreciate you being on the show today to encourage not only service members and their family, but also writers who may know they have a book inside, but it's painful, and maybe they need to have a cathartic experience like you did and are having. Leonard, we have about 30 seconds. What would you tell people that need to read your book?
I would tell them that I'm very proud of the book. It's a good read, and it's not always as depressing, I'm afraid, as I made it sound tonight. It has our lives we had funny things happen to us, and we had the camaraderie is incredible. You mentioned that I had gone to the 1st Marine Division reunion in Colorado Springs just last week, and to see those guys again, and there's a bond between us that's unlike any other that I have, and it's just it's that way.
Oh, all right, Leonard, we've got to go. Check out LeonardReese.com, and the book is The Nam Within. Thank you so much for your service. Welcome home. We're glad you were with us today, and we're glad all of you were with us today. We will let you hear from us next time.
Texas Authors is proud to be a supporter of IndieBeacon.com, a website that supports indie authors from around the world. If you are looking for help with marketing or getting published, IndieBeacon.com can assist you. Years of experience by the founder is available to any indie author looking for help. IndieBeacon.com, a place for creative souls to find help in marketing their creations. Thank you for listening to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. To learn more about Indie Beacon services, to be a guest on the show, or to advertise on our show, please visit our website at IndieBeacon.com.